Sorry about that. I guess I was muted. I swear, man, I'm so terrible at this. But let's go and get this right. So what's up, guys? I'm back now. Now you can hear me. You know. And it's another fine week of indie publishing in the black community. I hope you guys are all ready. This week is going to be, we're going to close up the rest of our creative side, and we're going to basically go hardcore into the money side. All right? So, first things first, I want to hear from all of you. How was the homework for the last week? How was your weekend, right? So, if you had any problems at all with the stuff that I was signing, let me know right now in the comments before we begin our class. And also, how do you like our homework that we were handing out in Patreon? If you guys were submitting on Patreon, let me know. All right. Hey guys, what's up? What's up? All right, so a couple people haven't finished the homework yet. Not a problem. It is a lot of creative work, so that could take a second to go and do. But you know we ready, right? Let's see. Let's see. I'm still working on the beat sheet. Busy this weekend. We'll wrap up tonight. All right. Make sure to submit that too on Patreon so I can look at it, give you some advice, give you some pointers, and we can stay on track. All right. The main objective of this course is to stay on track. So even if you're like a little bit behind, like let's say you you're having a hard time with your log line. If you complete your summary, right, and you move on to your beat sheet, that information that you put into your summary and your beat sheet might be exactly what you need in order to perfect your log line. You understand what I'm saying? It's all good. You just gotta what I would do is read the beat sheets out loud, right? Read each beat out loud when you're watching the film and then see what matches up with that and then call it out. That's the easiest way to go in. You have to really be looking for them, you know? I know Batman starts off with an action scene right off the bat, right? That's your opening image. They have to make sure that they capture you in the first 5 minutes of the film. So it's some crazy scene, right? I think Mr. Freeze gets jacked up or something like that and becomes Mr. Freeze or something like that. But basically, right, they're trying to get you as soon as possible in the film. So that's how we normally start off all stories. We get the most intense scene right at the beginning in order to capture them, and then we start explaining the world, right? We don't explain the world right off the bat because then we lose the audience. All right, so check it out. We are going to be moving forward in our lesson today, the hero and the villain. All right, this is week 2, class 4 of Black Publishing 101, aka the 90-day book challenge. All right, this is the one that you want to do specifically because it's about character development. You know, everybody got to have some really good character development. And I definitely feel that I'm pretty good at character development, and I'm sure a whole bunch of you guys as well are pretty good at character development as well. And we're not trying to recreate the wheel, right? We're not trying to rebuild the wheel or nothing. What we're trying to do is make effective characters that can push a story forward, all right? And characters might be similar to characters who already exist in Hollywood, but that's all right. That's not a problem. That's what normal things happen. Legends are based on other legends. So let's start it off. Memorable character, all right? The main objective of making a character, whenever you're making a character, is to make them memorable, all right? So basically, what's happening right now is, people tend to not make memorable characters when they do their stories. They tend to add a lot of characters for story purposes, but when they're making their characters that way, right? What happens is you basically fall into a place where, as somebody who's watching it or reading the story, they wonder why that character exists at all. And why am I learning about that character? It's not tied directly into the main story, and it could really wear down the audience. We don't want to do that. We don't want to wear down our audience. We want them to be excited when a new character shows up. So how do we do that? We tie them into the main story. Every single character that has a name in your story should tie into the main story somehow. You know? So let's read this, right? We tend to think of the protagonist and the antagonist are the most important elements of the story, but we seem to forget that these roles require significant obstacles to truly shine. This is why people find Superman pretty corny. And if you love Superman, that's your own prerogative, okay? But I can't stand the dude because he's too damn perfect. He's basically a god. He really doesn't have anything to do other than to beat people up for his living, you know? So I can't stand his character. The whole world around Superman irritates the hell out of me. All right? And this is why I believe people find Superman pretty corny is because he has little or no adversity. All right, adversity is your most powerful tool, and all characters should affect the journey in a significant way. Otherwise, why mention them at all? Think about it. If you have a character and you can't say why they're here, right? What significant role they will play, why add them at all? That's a lot of work for nothing, you know? Well, let me go a little deeper into the Superman idea, right? And this is the reason why I also knock the latest installment of Wonder Woman, right? People tend to think that it was a great movie, but I think like this, right? 95% of the movie can't be easy mode. All right? So in the films, right? At least in the Superman film, they did it really good. I love the Superman film. The Man of Steel, that was really good. All right? But if you don't have an opposition force that's equal to or greater than you throughout the story falls apart. Think about it. We're watching Wonder Woman for 95% of the film. 95% of the film, she's fighting people that couldn't hurt her. If they had rocket launchers, they still couldn't hurt her. It was impossible to hurt Wonder Woman. All these regular soldiers with guns from the 1900s are walking around shooting at freaking Wonder Woman the entire movie. Like, it makes no sense. Like, the opposition has no chance for 95% of the film. And then the last 5%, you got the villain who's strong enough to at least fight her, right? But this makes for a narrative that's kind of irritating because you're looking at it like, oh, there she goes beating up soldiers again, right? And with that's the reason why everybody hated what was it called? Justice League. Superman got revived, and then he literally picked on what's it called? Darkseid or whatever. What's that dude's name? Wolf or something like that. Wolf. He literally picked on him. He laughed at him and he was punching him in the face like he never stood a chance. This is bad writing. This is bad. The main villain is literally getting smacked around by the hero like it's nothing, like it's child's play. Do you understand how bad the writing is for that kind of scenario to ever exist in a film as the finale of the film? You know? And why do we like Aquaman? Because Aquaman got his ass beat the entire movie. Why do we like Batman? Because Batman's constantly getting his ass beat the entire story. No matter what story, Batman's getting his ass beat. He's constantly getting destroyed. All right? We need adversity in our heroes in order for the story to be great. All right? You need adversity, and not just superhero movies, even love stories. The love story character can't get everything he wants or she wants, right? They can't just be great at every single thing in the world in order to get the goal at the end. That is a horrible movie, right? Like, oh man, this movie, he got the girl right away. What the hell is this? Right? Their relationship is perfect. What is this? Right? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that it's such a hard it's so hard to reach that level. It's so hard to get to that point of achievement, right? We have to make that struggle hard for everyone. Yeah. Oh, so that's a good line right there. Wonder Woman pretty much was One Punch Man her way through the film. It was like One Punch Man. It was like she hits everybody and they instantly lose. Like it was. So look, I have no problem with Wonder Woman at all. I hope they make another movie where this time the bad guys are all equal level to her or greater. Because she's a really badass character. I love her design. But it doesn't feel like a real epic journey, right? It kind of feels like a really long like story about teenage girl, like it has no substance to it, right? And we got to have some substance. Like if Ares was in the early in the movie, if Ares came out early in the movie and used godlike enemies against Wonder Woman throughout the film, we could still fight the grunts, right? But if we added just a couple of godlike enemies through the story, it would have been a much better story to me, right? Now, it doesn't mean that the critics ain't gonna like it. The critics love it anyway, right? But me personally, as a writer, right, and as somebody who works in that kind of space of superheroes, I felt like, I was kind of bored to tears halfway through the film. So let's continue, and this time we're going to go into the hero side, all right? So let's focus on the hero, all right? So now check it out. I got something real cool for Guts Masterson and CK. Check it out. You just told me about the B story. You didn't tell me about the A story. You just mentioned the B story, her ideals, what she needs, how she fell in love with someone. That whole part of the film, the relationship between her and the main dude, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was amazing. That's the B story. That's not the A story. Right? The A story is full of adversity. The B story is full of internal strife. And she had plenty of internal strife in the story. That's one thing they dominated on when they were writing the Wonder Woman story, was that she was going through some issues. But the A story was horrible. Okay, the main plot of the story, like the world will end if no one stops the Germans from making a super weapon, right? That part of the story was god awful, right? But the B story was on point. So yeah, you are correct. You are correct that it is about her ideals, but you just explained to me the B story, not the A story. Frieza Frieza is an amazing villain because he sticks around. He's always one step ahead of them, and he's just an amazing villain. Trust me. All right, the hero side. Let's go. Let's go forward. Let's not get tied up too long. Right. The hero. He's the main character. The story is told through its eyes. All right. He or she. It doesn't matter. The story is told through the hero's eyes. And remember, the hero doesn't have to be a good guy. Okay. It's just the person who's telling the story. Uh, they need dramatic change, all right? They must be stubborn, all right? And must suffer. It just has to happen that way. They have to suffer in some kind of way. It can't be a happy story. There has to be some suffering in order to get them to their goal. All right? And when I say needs dramatic change, so this is where we talk about the log line, right? And we say, hey, look at the log line. You see how the character is basically having an ironic change of events, right? Risk adverse teacher, all right, goes on, must prove himself to a overprotective brother-in-law who's a cop. This is basically a scenario that makes them have to change dramatically. But if they change too fast, then it, what do you do with the rest of the story? They already changed. So they have to be stubborn. They have to not want to change, right? They're comfortable where they're at, right? They're comfortable, you know? And this is why we have to do that. All right. Then we have the sidekick, all right? The sidekick is he follows the main, right? The sidekick follows the main, lives with the decisions of the main, okay? So the sidekick is somebody who's basically beholden to the main character, right? They're beholden to them. They have to live with all the decisions that the main character makes, right? They have their own unique skills. They can't have the same skills as the main. That would defeat the whole purpose of them being in the story in the first place. And they keep the hero level-headed, all right? Or pushes them over the edge. So in other words, they're the ones that are the catalyst for the change. They either can keep them grounded or they push them over the edge, depending on what happens with the side kick, right? Or side character. Then then we have the mentor. The mentor guides the main character. The mentor tends to be significantly more skilled. All right, they should almost be like there's no chance that the main character can ever outperform, right? The mentor, aka Hitch. Remember Hitch? It took basically an entire freaking 2 hours for the main character to ever pull off something that Hitch couldn't pull off, right? Everything was Hitch, so that's one of the things. You also have they understand the real issues. So usually the mentor understands the real issues, right? And they try to point them out, but they don't do it too hard. And the last thing about a good mentor is they must not solve the problem directly. The mentor can never solve the problem directly, all right? Because if they do, the main character cannot grow. Do you understand? So you have to get rid of that mentor eventually, somehow, some way, right? When we look at Hitch, right? And Hitch is a great example because basically the mentor has his own breakdown and has to fix his issue, right? So they split up. They're not working together at all, and the main character now has to go and figure out a way to get his girl, right? And he's got to do it his way. He takes all the advice from Hitch, but he has to do it his way. He can't rely on Hitch anymore, and that's the kind of thing that you need to do. You have to pull away the mentor in order for the main character to succeed. Okay? So we don't want to keep mentors around forever. Sidekicks, sure, why not? Mentors, gotta go. Kill them if you must. All right. Now let's talk about the villain side, all right? The villain side, the rival, all right? So if you like superheroes and you like Golden Fleece stories and stuff like that, basically the rival is the most common enemy, right? When we talk about those genres, all right? Why? Because the rival has a personal history with the main character. Something splits them apart, right? In their past, something breaks them from being the friends or family or whatever they were before. They tend to have an event. They tend to be evenly matched, right? One's not catastrophically stronger than the other one. They tend to be evenly matched throughout the entire story. It has more conflict than most, which basically means they meet each other a lot. They tend to meet each other a lot throughout the entire story, right? And sometimes one will win, sometimes one will lose, but the dynamic is you don't really know who's really going to come out as the victor in the end, because the rival is evenly matched and they're all trying to one up each other in some kind of way. Shout out to Deku and Bakugo, right? He said, so you don't know who's gonna win these battles, you know. He said, then you have the unconcerned. The unconcerned is what you would call a super villain, right? Basically, it's the type cares little for the main character. So in other words, while the rival obsesses about the main character, the unconcerned doesn't care at all about the main character. As far as the unconcerned is involved, they are the hero of the story. All right, they have their own story going on. They have their own enemies. They have their own objective. They have their own mission and their own life goals. They have nothing to do with the main character. The main character is basically butting into their story. You know, how rude of them. He said they had oh yeah, and one thing that's always great about the unconcerned, well, and this is my name, right? The unconcerned, someone who doesn't care about the main character at all, is that they tend to be wildly more powerful than the main character. All right, wildly more powerful. Like yes, they're so ridiculously more powerful than the main character that it could really get out of hand. But that's a great story arc because now you can do so many things with that, right? The underdogs, right? Maybe you need an army to defeat this one person, you know? And then you have to add an organization, all right? This is mandatory in every story. There is an organization. There is a group of people that is stopping the main character, all right? There is a group, an entire group of people, no matter what story it is, that acts as a complete opposition force to the main character's objective. This is 100% in every single story you could ever look at. That is the facts. You will always come into a whole group of people that they might not be the bad guys, but they are opposing the main character and their objective. All right? Every story. There's not a single story out there where there isn't opposition force. Think about it. Even stories like what was that camping story with like Chris Rock and all of them? They all camping together or some crap. The opposition force was the regular freaking people. The regular people thought they were clowns and didn't want to be around them and kept basically chastising them every time they showed up. There's always some opposition force, you know? There you go, grown-ups. Even grown-ups had a complete, everything has an opposition force. And you have to look at it that way. You have to look at how the society, right? Sometimes it's just society. How society can basically team up against the main character, right? You have to make that dynamic. Even if the dynamic isn't currently in your story, you have to make it because it makes the story so much better when basically reality itself is opposing the main character, right? So much opposition, right? It's great for the story, all right? Then let's move to motivations, all right? So, when we're talking about the main character, right, and we want to care about the main character, we don't want the main character to simply be there like, oh, look at me, I'm the main character. You have to cheer for me. There has to be a reason why we're cheering for the main character. So, we go to the motivations. What is the main motivations of the main character? Why do we give a damn about his or her quest? So let's talk about that. It says motivations need to be carnal. All right, this is in Save the Cat. All right. If you read Save the Cat and got up to at least chapter 5, you're going to hear a lot of carnal or primal urges, all right? They cannot be too complicated. Our readers must be able to feel the same exact thing as the main character, all right? So we're talking about revenge, love, survival, fame, wealth, lust. It can't be like the main character has to get a chalice of what's it called. No, that's not what the main character's motivation is, okay? And if you say it that way, you're going to lose the reader really quick. If you say the main character wants to prove their father was right, and he wasn't crazy. Now we have something that we can definitely agree with. We're like, oh yeah, man, I protect my family's legacy too. I ain't gonna be that person that's gonna let my dad get discredited and stuff. I'll prove that he was right. And that's exactly the kind of stuff you gotta have in your story. You gotta have in there like primal reasons why they're doing what they're doing, not very complicated multiple dimensions and all that. If you do any of that stuff when you're explaining the actual reason why your character is doing what they're doing, you will lose your audience because only so much people can relate directly to that objective, but they can relate to vengeance. He killed my brother, I'm killing him. You know, it's like they can just feel that. They feel it, and they're like, all right, I don't care what he does in this story. I would have done the same exact thing, and I'm cheering for him. All right, so before we go over the homework, I would like to have an open discussion with the crowd. So please, in the comments section, give me your concerns, all right? Make sure to put a question mark at the end just so I know it's a question and not a comment, okay? Oh, yeah, look, this is a good question. All right, so Love Light has a question, right? He says, do main characters have to be likable? Do they have to be likable to get people to root for them? Believe it or not, like one person said, no, they do not. Believe it or not, they do. Every last main character needs to be likable, even the bad guys. All right, even the bad guys have to have something that's like about them. I didn't put this in the slide, but I probably should have. Save the cat. There has to be a moment where the main character has to save a cat. Has to basically show their humanity. Has to show that they're like one of us. Even if they're crazy and deranged, you can't help but be like, man, he's one of us. He's not a bad sadistic psychopath who kicks babies. He's one of us. Look, he spared that guy who had a wedding to go to. He spared his life. He killed the rest of the family, but that guy was spared because he had a wedding to go to, and it'd be rude for him to go and kill him in such a great moment of his life. Think about it. It's a little thing. I'll give you a great example. We all, if you ever watched the Saw series, who's the main character? It's not any of the victims. The main character is Jigsaw. Do we like Jigsaw? Absolutely. Why do we like him? Because he's getting vengeance for his wife. And instead, and this is his save the cat moment, instead of simply killing people, he gives them a chance to redeem themselves. If they make it out, they can live. And he forgives them. He doesn't go any further than that. What a nice guy. Think about it. He's not a villain. He just has a really extreme way of dealing with people who are burdens to society. But he doesn't murder people. He's a good guy. Do you understand the logic? They're making you cheer for Jigsaw. You don't realize it, but you're like, I don't want Jigsaw to necessarily fail. You're like, man, I hope they catch Jigsaw and stop him. Nobody ever said that when they watched the movie Saw. They didn't say, man, I just hope they stop. He said, I just hope they stop Jigsaw. Right? That's like, I just have to stop Jigsaw. Okay, my concern is that my story idea may be too big for my skill level. Do you have any advice? Yes, Jane Doe, I have advice. Focus on one character. Tell the story of one character in one specific arc of your story. And only focus on that. If it hits, expand. But never, think about it this way. The Dragon Ball universe has multiple Kais and dimensions, and people travel through space, and they got time travel, and they have people can fight in other dimensions at 100 times gravity, and freaking people can merge together and become superheroes, but they share the same body and all these things. Or we could just simply say there was a kid who landed in a spaceship, hit his head, don't remember anything, and now he's trained to be a martial arts master with a guy, old man named Master Roshi. That's the story. And sure, maybe 5, 6 seasons later, we'll talk about the aliens. Maybe 8, 9, 10 seasons later, we'll talk about traveling across the universe to stop some hardcore, gigantic bad guy who basically owns the galaxy. Maybe 20 seasons, 30 seasons down the line, we'll talk about interdimensional stuff and time travel and a cell guy who has all the cells of bad guys in his body, making him a supervillain. But right now, we're going to talk about a little kid who has brain damage and basically becomes a martial artist. Oh, that's a good one too. Killmonger. Nobody hates Killmonger. He's a bad guy, but nobody hates him. No, no, Jonathan Houston. Jonathan Houston has a good question. I have two protagonists, like Bad Boys. Should I still focus on the pair more, or can I divide the audience attention evenly? The answer is this: read the description of the buddy love. All right, because buddy love requires two protagonists. All right, buddy love requires two protagonists. There's rules to a buddy love story. Read that and Save the Cat. Read that in other books as well. Just go online and say the buddy love genre. What is the rules to that? And you'll figure out how you can tell a story from two main character perspectives. Well, this is an interesting question. It says, DeAndre says, is it possible for characters to fit into more than one category on the villain and hero types? Yes, yes, absolutely. It's definitely possible, right? For instance, a mentor can be a sidekick, right? But they can't be it forever, right? He said also, there's also sometimes a rival can be absurdly strong, right? That's rare, but sometimes it does happen. It's really like it's your choice on how you really want to go and make it, you know? However, these are like the generic types that we normally see widely used across the genre. You know what I'm saying? Guts Masterson, if you're using first person perspective, you're using a lot of internal thoughts, okay? If your story isn't riddled with internal thoughts, as in like I'm thinking this, right? Like stream of consciousness. If you don't have any of that in your story or very little, then there's no point doing first person perspective. Because that's basically what it is. It's that character's not only outside perspective, but also their internal. Is it okay to tell the story backwards, starting in jail and telling how they got there? That is a common technique. That is a common technique for stories to start off with a really intense scene way later in the story, and then going back 2 years ago or some crap like that. All right, so that's a normal storytelling technique. It's very strong. It's very tried and true. So use it. right? It's not necessarily telling the story backwards. It's just revealing something in the future and then going back, you know? Now, if you're literally telling the story backwards, that's extremely risky. I didn't watch I didn't see Castlevania, so I have no clue. See, this is the thing. Orlandis Hardy says, uh, thoughts on a morally gray main character. How could they be likable? If you can make Jigsaw, which is a lawful evil character, okay? Jigsaw is lawful evil, all right? He has rules. He has reasons why he does what he does, right? And he doesn't break those rules for anything, but he's likable. Really, the things that you could do for a morally great main character is he has his own codes that he follows, right? And it's beneficial to society in some kind of way, right? You could be morally gray and still be a great tyrant. For instance, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar brought down the entire Roman Republic because he wanted to be the emperor. He also reformed the hell out of Rome and made the regular common man have more power than they ever had before, more wealth, more benefits, everything, because he really cared about the common people. So while he was totally killing and assassinating Senate people and being ruthless, right? With wars and constantly declaring wars and and killing off rivals and all that good stuff. He was also extremely generous to the common folk and soldiers. All right? That's a morally gray character right there. And he's a great example. Study Julius Caesar if you want to figure out how you can make a morally gray character likable. Well, Bella Manning, look at the caption right under the video. So go under the video and you'll see the caption. The caption has the homework right there. All right, so that's it. That's all I got for you guys. This is a nice, short, sweet assignment. What I want you guys to do is download this template that I put out there. I gave you some examples from Black Sands so you can see exactly what I'm talking about when we're talking about making character bios. And you can make some for yourself, okay? Make them for yourself. Add all these characters that I put on the list, right? And start fleshing out your story so you can have a nice package for when we start writing in week 3. Okay? See you on Wednesday. Oh yeah, you better hit that like button before you leave. And you better share this on your Facebook timeline. Alright? Share this class on your Facebook timeline before you leave. It's very important so we can get more students in here so we can share this information with other black and brown people around the world who basically want to do this. And also, the very last thing to say is tomorrow we have a special interview with the Learning Curve. All right? We got a new interview coming through tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time. It's going to be very short. It's going to be 15 to 30 minutes. And it's going to be interviewing another independent publisher who works in children's books and goes to all the major shows. They go to all the major shows in the Northeast. It's Puerto Rican children's books, comic books, you know, and you're going to be like, yo, this is dope stuff. And you get to learn exactly from him what he's gone through, the kind of stuff he had to deal with, the kind of way he manages his company, and how the stuff that you'll basically need if you succeed in this course and go forward. All right? Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. All right? Make sure to be there. Make sure to share this video. Make sure to hit the like button. And make sure to comment on the actual video after it's done. Right now we're commenting in the live feed, but when we comment on the actual caption, it bumps us up in the ratings. All right? Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. Thank you all the patrons that just joined us. I've already done half of the patrons who have submitted their homework. I still have a couple more to do, but I promise I'll get to yours as soon as possible. All right? See you guys later. Manuel Godoy, I'm out. My wife's out. We're having a great time. This is a beautiful course. Love you guys. Discord, keep it moving.